So it's a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker today, who is going to talk to us about socio-economic and educational opportunities in Jharkhand. This is the subject in which we should all be deeply interested because everyone needs to know what is their society and culture. In today's days, what we are, what we are, what we know, opportunities we have in this field to ensure our quality of life and satisfaction. Our honorable speaker, although having spent almost her entire career in this field, now she is working as head of socio-economic and educational development society, Jamshedpur, known as SEEDS. She worked as education expert in community development and social department. She did her PhD, MPhil, postdoctorate studies in regional development and also masters from rural development and education. She is an award-winning personality and got awarded by Paul Harris Fellow of Rotary International, International Health Leadership Fellow of Packard Foundation, Rotary of Vocational Excellence Award, awards in Women Empowerment segment, and much more. So I request Dr. Shubhra ma'am to share her thoughts with us. Shubhra ma'am.
Thank you, Sumit. It is so nice to see you
Yes, ma'am.
after a year and a half almost. So, actually, I have been asked to share my experiences and, the opportunities which are there. So, SEEDS, that's the acronym for Socio-Economic and Education Development Society. So now we are nearly 25 years old, and we reach out in 5 districts of Jharkhand and touch the lives of people in about 700 villages and hamlets. And these are about 80% of the population with whom we work are the scheduled tribe population. And these are mostly areas in the interior parts of Jharkhand. And as Pranav was mentioning, that with Gyan Setu, our partnership began in the year 2014, June. And it was a very enriching experience, the first time when we met Geeta Kai, Onkar Banerjee, and Pranav. Pranav was a youngster, and he was what he mentioned that time, that he was really scared coming to Jharkhand. And as you're all aware that Gyan Setu program functions in conflict areas. So when they had come, Jharkhand was much affected by extremism. Now the situation has improved a lot. But that time when they visited also some of the areas, these were all extremist affected areas. And here I would like to mention that the last team that led by Sumit, they were in a block called Gura Banda. And this block, but I think block, you all say Taluka or Anchal. Yeah? So this Gura Banda block was an extremely terror-infested block. And it was very, very people would dread going there. So now Sumit is smiling. We had not told you all in the beginning about all this because things were much better. And I must congratulate the team, that they stayed there in the block. Like earlier, when the teams were coming, except one team, they were all going from Jamshedpur in the morning and coming back. So they stayed there, and they really got the feel of the place, being there din raat, and then they could understand the people, and the people were they felt so happy that these youngsters coming from so far, and they have chosen their village to be there. So I think there was an instant rapport that was built amongst them. And I remember Sumit and all telling us later on, children had taken their phone numbers, and I don't know, he will share perhaps. I don't know if they called up and asked them about some problems and all those things. Saranda forest areas. These, again, it is about 200 kilometers from Jamshedpur, and these are very, very mm, extremist affected areas. Um, so with these, we worked mostly in such areas. But let me just assure you, that there is absolutely no danger or risk involved, because the work which we do is for the people. And the extremists, extremists, they are the youngsters from the villages, and they have gone into a different direction. So we have no danger from them. But coming back to the Gyan Setu program, uh, see, because we work in these interior areas, the condition of education is very, very wanting. It is very poor. In many of the schools, the teachers do not visit also, uh, because they are scared. And some of the schools in those days, they were burnt by the extremists. And since the teachers were not going, obviously the children were also not coming. And there used to be lots of buns and other things. So children had no exposure to, basic education, leave alone, the concepts of science and other things. And that is one reason that wherever the teams of Gyan Setu volunteers visited, the children were very, very excited and receptive. And I remember some of the volunteers telling us that, their Hindi was not too good. Then we told them that neither is the Hindi of our villagers good, So there'll be no problem. And and I think the Gyan Setu volunteers who came, the language of love, it has no barriers at all. So that was the most important thing. So there was very good communication amongst Gyan Setu volunteers and our little children. And we felt that this was for the classes 7th and 8th. But actually, in our schools, even students of 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, they too do not have this basic concepts of science. So, in some of the interior areas, we included those bigger children also, because this was a very crucial input that was being given to them in a very enjoyable manner, and with almost no or very low cost involved. So this is the beauty of the program. And for all the teams which visited our different areas, I think only in two schools there were repetitions. Otherwise, these were all new areas where the volunteers came. And in many places, the teachers also were unaware of these basic concepts. So they were also there. And I'm happy to tell you that um, it was not a one time or a ad hoc input sort of thing, because even after you all left, these things continued. And the younger children, since their siblings had participated, so some of them shared with them. So there was a wider dissemination. So I think uh, this initiative was a very, very um, worthwhile one. And now, because of COVID, in the last about one and I should say it's 1.5 years, it will be, we have not had the volunteers here. But some of the inputs which you all have given, we utilize those in our centers. We have about 22 centers running for primary and middle grades and high school children in some of our very interior areas where the teachers do not come. So here, even after the lockdown was over, I think last year from July onwards, we have started the classes for these children. So since the schools are closed from November, the children of 9, 10, 11 are going to school, but the other children are still at home. So our centers are a very vibrant place because children find at least some outlet to come and to learn and to share these things. So I would say that, the need is vast. It is a gigantic thing, like however much we do, it may be a drop in the ocean, because the education scenario here is not good, I must say. So these sort of initiatives, like, we can never say that we have completed our work. There is always need for more and more. And we just felt that some of the schools where the volunteers had come, and they were told that this is the first phase or first stage of the you could say the curriculum or whatever it was. So they waited that ठीक है, दूसरा बार भी आएंगे हम लोग को कुछ नया सिखाने के लिए. But all the teams which came to Jharkhand, they came with the first module. So we had to take them to the new schools. And I think in 2 or 3 schools, as I mentioned earlier, the same module was given. So the volunteers, they said that the children knew what they were telling them. So of course we didn't think that that was a waste, because it was a revision sort of thing. And it is good that children could show that okay, we know these experiments. So I would, of course, now this COVID and Maharashtra is leading the country, and I would never dream of, requesting you all to come here. But I don't know if, because I'm sure you all have those modules online or perhaps on YouTube or something. So if you can share that with us, then we could share it with the children. Uh, because this pandemic seems to be there for a while, and it may not be very feasible for direct physical interaction. But we could definitely link the children with, as a program also suggests, Gyan Setu. So now I think the real Setu will be now, when you cannot come here. So you and we both have to be the Setu to deliver the Gyan to the children. So I think uh, these could be the only suggestions which I could come up with. I don't know if you have something to uh, ask or suggest. You're most welcome. And Pranav, as you were mentioning right in the beginning, uh, it was, we felt so good, that your parents were so apprehensive, and others, that time everybody thought, Jharkhand, that's not a place to visit, and everybody was fearful, they thought that there was nothing over here. And but at the end of it was so encouraging when this young fellow Pranav, he told that now I will always come to Jharkhand. Now, and it was such a pleasant surprise, that till it was unknown, he and the others were so apprehensive. But his visits to the villages and interaction with the children, I mean, he spontaneously said that I would come here, baar baar aayenge. So that was a great thing for us, Pranav.